This was Magician where you said it was a show or something where you did raise money using the show.
Yeah, so they put on like kind of a Las Vegas style show, and like we're supposed to sell tickets and donations and things like that.
Hello everyone, welcome to Spotlight, a show from School Z where we profile education leaders, PTA and PTO presidents, the very people who make our schools successful. I'm your show host Avnish, and today in the very first episode, we have our guest Stacy Golding from Aurora Elementary, Ohio. She is a parent, have kids 10 and 12, and is also a PTO president for the school. She has been working on many new initiatives as a PTO president to build a thriving school community. I'm super excited to have this conversation with her. Hey, Stacy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Avanish. Thank you. So glad to be here.
Great. So, Stacy, I'm very happy to have you here on the very first show of Spotlight. And why don't you start with just giving about your background and introduction on what you're doing as an elementary president in the school?
So in Aurora, we have three different schools that I am the president of. I work in the elementary schools, but there's a kindergarten, a first and second grade, and a third through fifth grade. So there's many different needs, go in that range that we try to fulfill. And I'm just at this point, I guess last year we're just getting my feet wet, trying to figure out how the best way we can help our schools and our kids and our teachers make it, a better place for everyone. And I feel like we were slowly doing that. And your app and your platform has definitely allowed us to communicate better with our members in that sense as well. So
great. So, let's talk about your experience. I think you're a parent as well. Are both of your kids in the same school?
No, actually, my older kid is in middle school now. So he just finished sixth grade. So he is in a different school, a different building. And then my younger is going into fourth grade. So I guess in the PTO world, I'm kind of on the older side for the elementary because I have gone through most of all the schools, dealt with all the teachers and the principals. So I guess that does help in working with the schools because I've kind of been through it.
So I think there are many models how schools have these parent groups organized. Like some schools do have PTAs, some has PTOs, some have different like parent-teacher councils. So can you help us describe the role of a PTO and how it is different than some of the other groups who build engagement in the school?
So I guess we try to stay very open, and some of the clubs and organizations can be very specific. I guess if, you have your sporting clubs and your ski clubs and your drama clubs, the money we raise and the money that we give and use in the schools is we try to make that use for all kids, regardless of where they're at or if they're in a special class or not. So we try, to do that, to make it different and, really just do our best to find a way to help inside the schools. And, our main goal and our main objective is raising money so that money can then go back into the school.
Got it. So, as a parent, you must be juggling responsibilities between working with your kids and then helping schools. And I'm assuming it's a volunteer role as well. So how do you go about juggling the priorities between, it's almost like a full-time job for you, right?
Yes, it is. The president was definitely a big role to jump into. I had not been on the board at all. I'd done volunteer work and helped in different, shops and book fairs and things like that the school did, but never this intense. It was a lot at first, but I guess it was a little easier because I do have older kids, so I don't have to be as hands-on. I don't have to be home when my sixth grader gets home from school. He can let himself in. So I feel like I was in a good position in just my life to be able to handle more responsibility. I tell people it was the best way to get back into work without actually going to work, because it's a volunteer and I can still say no, or my kid got sick and not feel guilty, or any of those, that real responsibility that comes with, actually having to go out and physically, make a living. So it's been fun. It's been a lot more fun than I thought it was
Yeah,
going to be.
well, good. And I think one thing which I also know that once, so there is, I was working with one of the professor from UPenn who's a kind of expert in family engagement per se. So they say that when parents are in the school in some capacity, it automatically helps them increasing, get them become serious about education, thinking that, oh, our parents are involved here. So it kind of indirectly increases the student achievement and helps them to kind of perform better. So I think that is right in the area of you directly helping your kids as well as other kids as well. So very good.
Thank you. That's very cool. I would say that's very interesting to hear. I had not heard or read a study like that before. So that's very cool.
Yeah, so just to expand upon it, I think the Department of Education always have these frameworks which they keep building about how the family engagement should be in the schools. So they have these guidelines which they give to schools to build upon it. And the role of a PTA or PTO is very, very important in that particular segment. So right, I think that's where we think that higher engagement in a school from parents always have a better school. So there are studies to show that. So
Mhm.
tell me, as a journey as a PTO president, you must be facing day-to-day challenges always, right? I mean, nothing goes as planned. I think whenever you are doing something like say you're doing fundraiser, there's always something unexpected. So what strategies do you employ to deal with some of those unexpected situations and still get the outcome what you want?
I guess like one, I try to take a moment and think about the issue and really think about it before I respond. Because I am representing the school in an indirect way. Yes, I don't work for them, but I work with them and I represent them when I am doing things. So I do try to be mindful. I guess some issues, it just depends. It depends on what it is. So, for example, I had a few parents come to me with different events that we were holding that actually fell on different holidays, religious holidays that we, myself, were unaware of or unsure of how that worked. I was very lucky that the people that pointed that out to me were very, nice in the fact that they didn't blame me for it. They were just bringing this to my attention. So in that way, I worked with the parents and now they sent me like a list of all the holidays. So going forward, some of the dates I have control of over and some I do not. The school picks things that I have no control over. I just have to put on that event. But some I do. And so just trying to be more inclusive of as our community grows, with diversity, just trying to be more inclusive. So that was like a problem. And so I'm going to definitely try this year coming up to be more cognizant of it and use the information that was given to me to make better choices if I can. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. Sometimes you just have to tell parents, sorry.
Yep.
I don't know. Sometimes you just have to ignore it and move on because it's just not productive to get into arguments sometimes with parents about certain things.
Yeah.
So you have to know, I guess, what to fight and what not to fight. So I would say I had a great board that was very able to help guide me and give me good advice as well. So I think that's very important when you're working in these kind of organizations.
That is. So I think let's segue the conversation into initiatives and talk about some of the initiatives, what you have taken in your school, some of the initiatives, what you're planning in upcoming year. And the reason I want to go into this direction is because, so we work with many schools and typically when we see schools doing some certain things, we always find an overlap where some schools are doing something new and other schools do not have idea about doing the exact same thing. So collaboration here helps in many schools learning about some initiatives which they have never thought about. So talk about some initiatives, what you have done in your school so far, either to increase your engagement with parents or raising funds or any for that matter.
So in regards to raising funds, last year, one of our board members brought, it's kind of in that same concept as they do they call them, like they do laps, they run laps, or, dance-a-thons, where they go out into the community, they ask parents, grandparents, hey, if I do 10 laps, will you give me $10? And so we did that at 2 of the schools, and the amount of money we raised actually blew away everyone. So in the younger schools, in our grades for first and second grade, it was called Cruising Craddock. So she took a whole day and got each grade outside for I think an hour, and it was how many laps you could do around a certain area. And they raised over $8,000 for their school. And then we did one in the third through fifth grade. They called it Leighton Laps, and they incorporated it into their PE time. And the PE teacher set up a somewhat of an obstacle course around the gym that the kids had to complete, and they would do laps. And then they raised over $6,000. So that was really cool to see. It was very easy, in a sense of we didn't have to buy a lot, we didn't have to rent a lot, we didn't have to do a lot. So we try to look for things like that, where we don't have to do a lot or put out a lot, but get a lot in. So that was very fun and interesting. Every year we do they call them mumpkins, so they look like like their mums. I don't know if you guys have mums flowers in California like that we do here in Ohio. But then they sell these pots that look like Halloween, like pumpkins and cats, and you stick these plants in them, and they give it they're fun. So we do those fundraisers, and then we do a spring flower one every year. And this year we tried. There's a magician called Rick Smith Jr. who does a program called Magic Gives Back. We did that. It didn't work as well as we thought it would, and I don't know if it was just timing or whatnot. So some are successes, some are not.
This was magician, where you said it was a show or something where you did raise money using the show.
Yeah, so they put on kind of a Las Vegas style show, and we're supposed to sell tickets and donations and things like that. But I don't know. Some schools in Ohio, it did phenomenal. They would raise over $10,000, and we just didn't have as much luck. And I don't know if it was, sometimes it's just timing. The show is in May, and that can be very tricky time of year in schools and stuff like that. So there could be just kind of timing. And then the real last initiative that was brought to my attention that I'll probably focus a lot on in this upcoming school year is our 3rd through 5th grade building wants to get inclusive adaptive playground equipment for the handicapped children. Not just not saying that a swing is bad. I'm sure most of us have seen what the swings look like, but they say it's only the handicapped child, and only the teacher or the paraplanner or whatever can go on there. Mm-hmm. There's actual playground equipment that's more interactive, where the actual other kids can be pushing a merry-go-round. It's an adaptive merry-go-round that is specific. But, all that stuff costs a lot of money. So in Aurora itself, we're trying to raise it, but that's going to be kind of my, initiative going into the next school year, to raise as much money as I can for that.
I think you briefly mentioned about the initiative of inclusive. So inclusive part in here is about the disabled students, and it can be used by all students. Is that what the inclusive part is?
Yes. The students can, the handicapped students can, sit inside, and the other students can push it on the outside. I'm sure the, other students can go into, or they can, there's a turn wheel. And it just allows kids to play with other kids and not have to have always a teacher there, and we all remember what it's like to be on a merry-go-round and how fun it is. And there's that. And then there's another set of equipment that they want to get as well. That's more like a zip line type equipment. And so to be able to get all of that and have it installed, it's over $100,000. So we've raised, I want to say 50 or 60 that we have raised last year, just in other initiatives too within the community. But like I said, I feel like that'll probably try to be my focus this year.
And that is for the upcoming school year you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. Very good. So, I think, once I was working with a school, and we were just talking about their fundraising strategies. So I have never thought about one of the things which I heard from them, that they have an auditorium where they keep shows, and they auction the front row seats with the parents to raise money. So that is something which I have never seen any school doing. So I think this is how these strategies, when we talk about them.
Well, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. So I think, see, this is how the collaboration happens. Like, once we have told this to few schools, now they start doing it as well. So I think this is how the collaboration increases.
Yeah, no, I could see that being used in like our, we do have a middle school and high school PTO that,
Okay.
but, and they, like the high school and things like that do a lot of those kind of shows though, like the drama shows and things like that, but that would be a really great idea for them to see if they would want, to use that to raise money, because that's a really good idea, because some people do like to donate. And they like it to go to a good cause.
Absolutely.
I know.
And also they like front row seats as well. So I think it all works together.
It does very well.
Yeah, but very good. So let's deep dive into a little bit more fundraising strategies. Do you have any specific things or a specific list what you have for the year? Let's say when you plan a year, do you have some things which happens every year no matter what? Like one of the things which I see here people doing is they collect those coupons on the boxes, like cereal boxes and all. And
Oh yeah, box
that's correct, box top. So like that, do you have things which you every time do as a ritual for raising money for your school?
Yeah, so every year we do book fairs, where we put on a book fair with scholastics. They come into the school. So, and I guess we don't technically raise money for, it's all raising money for the schools. It raises money for the library. So then the library in return gets Scholastic dollars, which in turn then they can go on the Scholastic website and order different books and things like that for the library. So that's an every year fundraiser. Like I was saying, we do the flowers. We usually have a fall fundraiser and a spring fundraiser that are every year. And then like we do, so typically, let's see. We do have fundraisers, and like, I guess we partner with different organizations. So we partner with, it's called Kalahari Resort. So it's like those indoor water parks. Okay. So we sell a block of rooms and they give us a discounted price, but then they give us back like 20%. So we do a lot of those. We do a lot of, we work a lot. We partner with local restaurants, and we do give back nights, where, we advertise throughout the week that if you go to a certain restaurant on this day and buy food from there or whatever, then they'll donate 20% of the proceeds back. Those are all pretty standardized, built in. Now we do have to go out and kind of work it, but it's not super difficult because, it's a very small community that we live in. So
good. I think that helps. I think I see a lot of schools here as well doing restaurant 20% fundraisers and all that. So I think let's switch gears to talking about volunteering. And I think one of the things which we have seen as a school going through this challenge is finding volunteers for the work what you need to do. So it happens all the time that people who are helping, they always show up. And then people who don't, they just never show up. So what are some of the difficulties you face in bringing volunteers in your school, and what strategies do you apply to resolve it?
Well, some of it isn't, sometimes it's not so much getting the volunteers into the school, it's getting people to join the PTO. I would say we had 400 and some members, and we have like a 1,200 students. So, roughly, I would say some of those families do have siblings, but, so we're roughly even at 50%. Some of the volunteering can be very catty around here, where people share things that they're not supposed to. But some of it's just, I guess, more for us, it's just getting more involvement in the PTO, getting people to come to the PTO meetings, that kind of thing. People just want the volunteer signups, and then they just want to sign up for those and not do anything else. And sometimes we need help other places.
Yes, I know.
So I don't know. I mean, we're fortunate, like, to not, I don't have too many issues with getting, volunteers, too many times. I guess we're lucky that way.
What advice do you have to other PTOs or other presidents who are in the similar situations on how to handle some of those situations?
I guess always remember what your goal is, which, like I always was like, I'm just trying to help the students and teachers have a better experience. So I feel like if you keep that goal, in the front of your vision, in front of your mind as you're going forward, when you do have these failures, then it's a little bit easier to bounce back for them and move forward.
I think that's a very good message. So I think that's pretty much sums up that conversation. So as a parting thought, do you have any advice for fellow PTO presidents or any PTA president who might be watching this later?
You're doing a great job. I know it's not easy. It's volunteer. And, I guess my only advice is just remember you're never going to make everyone happy. So the main thing is to try to keep in mind and keep focus on what your goal is, be it the children, the teachers, or, whatever your goal is for that year or that fundraiser, is just keep that in focus and try to let the noise fall behind you.
Got it. Got it. Well, thank you so much for showing up here today and talking about your experience and all that. I know it's a very difficult job, and the fact that you volunteer and try to still manage everything together is truly challenging. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for developing your app. I mean, I know we haven't used it to the full extent yet, but even just within the last year, my treasurer was beyond excited. And like, that's all she could tell. She was done in her position this year. So we have a new treasurer coming in next year. And all she could tell the new treasurer was like, you have no idea how easy it's going to be. This app makes everything so easy. It's also user friendly. If something goes wrong, they fix it right away. So I just want to thank you because you've given us a tool too that has been really helpful in just communicating with our members. And I look forward to using it in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. I think that's a very amazing to hear. You made my day.